this is the book that we are doing the book club on, The Way We Never Were. And this is talking about myths and the nostalgia trap and thinking back to how traditional families are. Now, I've been talking a lot about the crisis of men, and I believe that some of the answers in fixing it means going back to the root of where things started to go wrong. So, I'm going to get into a piece that we discussed just yesterday. Okay, so this is one of the chapters that we got into yesterday. This is about gender myths. Now, I want to read this first passage. Surveying the erosion of the 1950s family patterns at the beginning of the 1970s, economist George Gilder warned that the decline in marriage rates threatened the stability of Western civilization. The single man is disposed to criminality, drugs, and violence. He is irresponsible about his debts, alcoholic, accident prone, and venereal diseased. Unless he can marry, he is often destined to Hobbesian, life, solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. Okay, so we have been talking about the crisis of men. And in the 1970s, that's what the economist George Gilder said, the decline in marriage rates would threaten Western civilization. Now, historian Barbara Welter summed up the definition of true womanhood that emerged in America in the first few decades of the 19th century. Piety, purity, submissiveness, and domesticity. Put them all together and they spelled mother, daughter, sister, wife, woman. As mother, daughter, sister, wife, women cared for son, father, brother, and husband. Yet, in order to give this care, she also depended on the economic support of such men. Thus, as political scientist Virginia Shapiro notes, women were defined as dependents because everyone else was dependent on them. As men shed their social identities and embraced individualism and self-reliance, collectivism and dependence were frequently imposed on women. All right. One problem was that the powerful legal, political, and economic principle of liberal theory, liberty, equality, fraternity, and the rights of men, could claim universality only by ignoring women and the family. Accordingly, there was deafening silence about women and the family, both in political theory and popular tracts about popular enterprise. Political theorist Susan Oiken points out that most Anglo-Saxon theories of justice, not to mention most arrangements of work and education, have been about men who have wives at home. So women had no rights. They were dependent. They had to depend on husbands for support. But scroll down to the bottom. For some women, of course, and some men as well, the contrast between liberalism claimed to universality and the denial of individual rights to women was an insupportable contradiction. Fond fathers who educated their daughters in the Republican principles awakened desires and frustrations that led women to demand the rights of citizenship. So, daddy's sitting up here telling them about what republicanism is what made women want some independence as well. Now, I want to talk about gender stereotypes and how they were given to us, but they also hurt men as well. Gender stereotypes about men creates binds for them as well. One of the reasons is that the majority of the homeless are men, and that in turn that the homeless receive so little sympathy is that men who cannot sustain an independent existence in a competitive world, like women who don't exhibit a dependent existence in the family, are often considered unworthy of sympathy or aid. Now, this is a system created by men and stereotypes created by men who harm men and women as well. Okay, and irony asserts itself. Simply by being in need of help, men forfeit the right to it. So ultimately, these stereotypes are destructive even for those who live up to them or down to them, as the case may be. And you guys know, I'm sure you've noticed that the majority of the people that unalive themselves are white men. And so there is something to it because patriarchy has given them the role of provider and protector, but when they don't live up to it, there are dire circumstances, and deaths of destruction and despair are at the root of it. So that is a little piece of this book that I'm reading, The Way We Never Were. And these myths and these roles were created a long time ago. They were created. A lot of it was legislated, but they are the foundation of what is harming us right now. And all of these people that are writing about the crisis of manhood right now in these articles, they're not going back far enough in order to fix the problem. So, you guys jump in the comments, like, comment, share, tell me what you think. And I'm so glad that we're doing this book club. And for the women that are in it, thank you for participating.